All right, let me know if everybody can hear me. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Coley Burns, yo, from Arkansas. Let me know if you can hear me, just so I know that this is all hooked up. You like cheese or not? Okay, Mikey, tell me to get rich. Just confirm that you guys can hear me, then I'll go in. When will commune have smaller commitments, loud and clear? Okay, epic. Here we go. Let's start from the top. How many times do you shower? That's daily. How are you? I'm good. Okay, Mikey, tell me how to get rich. The best way to get rich, best possible way to get rich is to just find a need. Try to solve a problem. If you can solve a problem, you can make money, and then you have to figure out how to either solve more people's problems or solve larger ones. That's really as simple as that's how to get rich in the most simplistic way possible. It gets a little bit harder when you have to figure out, how to solve a problem for more people, because now you're talking about building teams. But if you can figure out how to solve problems, you can figure out how to make money. When will commune have smaller commitment sizes? Really, really hoping that happens by the first half of next year. Really hoping. We're planning on sending everything in first week of January. Then basically we have to wait for the SEC. And then if they approve us, we are good to go. A lot of thumbs up. Heck yeah. RIP Joe Rogan. Is that because of the bot? You're too good. All right, hear you. Word. Okay, good. We hear you, big dog. Appreciate you guys. Does it clap? Front feeble or rail? It's been a long time. Do you know Saphis Foos? No, I don't. I'm thinking about getting into the rental market in 2024. Form an LLC first. Top 5 steps. Okay. So a lot of people, getting financing locked down through an LLC can be harder than just doing it personally. But I think it's good to lock everything up into an LLC first. What a lot of people say is just get the insurance. I think that could protect you. I guess you just run a risk on if something happens and it goes beyond your policy cap, at least with like an LLC of, an added layer of separation. What a lot of people do is buy it personally and then move it into an LLC. You just have to be careful with that, because in a lot of your loan docs, it says that if you change title, your loan can get called due. And so just make sure that if you're going to do that, you talk to the lender. And I've even had friends that spoke to the lender about what they were going to do, did it, and then they tried to call the loan due. So it's a little bit challenging. What I would say is, 2024 a good time to invest in real estate? I think so. We're going like crazy. So I think it is a good time. Is it a challenging time? It's hard to do deals right now, but I'm not sure it's going to be for the entirety of 2024. Like the beginning of 2023 was really hard because it was hard to get financing and it was harder to raise capital. By the second half of 2023, it felt a lot easier to raise money. It seemed like more investors were like, okay, I'm seeing cap rates move. Where's the opportunity? But financing was still challenging. We might continue to see that for a little bit. But I think this is a good time to invest. So what are your first 5 steps? 1, you have to know how to underwrite a deal. You have to know how to do your due diligence so that you know that you have a good investment in front of you. If you don't know how to do that, you're gambling at that point. So know how to underwrite a deal. I think you should have a property management company managing your property. So lock that down. I would look for a good property manager before you even get a project. Start talking to lenders. Figure out your financing. And then have a strategy on when you're going to attempt to sell it. Like you might not ever do that, but I would at least plan on what your hold period is. I think that's good to at least prepare for. But really, you got to learn how to do your due diligence and have everything in place so that when you close, you're good to go. Buying a property in 2024, would you suggest to purchase a single family home, a multi-unit property or a condo in Puerto Rico to Airbnb out and rent in the US? Okay, so I'm a big fan of multifamily. Like I like multifamily a lot better than I like single family. I like it a lot better than Airbnb. The reason is I've never really liked single family that much, actually. Like what I don't like about it is if, like, let's say you buy one property, right? If one rental property, that property is either 100% occupied or 100% vacant. I don't like that. I like having some protection by having multiple units so that when you have turnover, you're not all of a sudden negative cash flow. The other thing I like is finding projects, like finding a home to buy. It takes work. Like you have to negotiate the purchase price, you have to get the financing, you have to manage it. Like there's a lot of work that goes into getting it. And it's not that much more work. It is a little bit, but it's not that much more work to go get a 10-unit apartment. So I like the idea that I could get a bunch at one swoop as opposed to having to get them all individually based. And then I think there's an argument on just the management of it. I like that. I like that better. Buck Buchanan, will Commune have a non-accredited investment? That's the one I was talking about. That's the one that we're planning on sending in the next 2.5 weeks. So I'm really hoping that we get approved easily because I've been wanting to do this since I started this business. This has been a 5-year plan for me to open this thing up so that anyone can invest with us. I've always wanted to do that. So let's keep our fingers crossed. It's coming here soon. Do you still have your DC ring? Lance, I have no clue what happened to my DC ring, actually. I don't know what I did with that thing. So I don't know where it is, actually. Huh. I haven't thought about that ring in a long, long time. Are you religious? Yeah, I mean, I would say I try to focus on having a stronger faith than just the religious aspect of it, but we go to church every Sunday. I live my life really trying to have a stronger relationship with God, but I try to put more emphasis on that than just the religious aspect of it, because I do think you can be religious and not even know who God is. So I would rather have the former than the latter. Is a tax strategist for a small 1 to 4 unit investor if they have a high income and not a lot of time? Really good question. So a tax strategist is good. I think a tax strategist is good if you're a high income earner. I think that's good. Is a 1 to 4 unit, like, I think you're asking, is that too small? No, it's not. I would just be mindful that if you don't have any time, keep that in the equation. Like sometimes, this is something we see a lot with people who end up becoming investors of ours, is they make a lot of money, they want to be invested in real estate, they don't have a ton of time, but they like the idea of them owning the real estate and no one else. So they go out, they might get a property, they'll have it for, let's call it anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And a lot of times we end up getting calls when they sell it and go, I love real estate, I do not want to do this. This takes up too much of my time. I don't like managing it or getting the phone calls or managing the investment. I just want to be hands off and I want to put all my attention towards my career. We get a lot of those. So that's not to steer you out of doing it yourself. Just be mindful that it is going to take time. Owning real estate is not passive at all. It's only passive if you're a passive investor with somebody else and somebody else's job is managing the asset. No right or wrong, just keep that in mind because we do see that a lot. Recently moving to Ventura County, you think I'll be able to live and support myself with $90K? Motivated mindset. It depends. Depends on if you're single or not. Kids add to the responsibility. But can you pull it? Yeah, you totally can. Housing is a little bit expensive. It's not a little bit. housing's insane right now. Let's call it what it is. Housing's expensive. So I would say you may want to find people to rent with, have roommates to try to bring that living cost down. Living in California in general is expensive. Just cost of living is high. But I would say you'll be fine starting off. You look young. I'm just basing that off of your profile, but from what it looks like, you got a lot of time in front of you. I'd focus on making more money, put your energy towards increasing your income, try to keep expenses down, and put more into investments. That's kind of the name of the game. But California is pricey. I started a cleaning business earlier this year, March, and we grossed about $100K. John, heck yeah, that's huge, man. That's really good your first year of business. Great work. Mikey, you ready for tax season around the corner? Ricky, I've had somebody that's helped me not just with my taxes, but plan for taxes for a long time. So it feels like the same now. It doesn't even, like when tax season's upon us, it's not really any extra work on my end. It's definitely more work on the CPA, but a lot of the stuff that we did a long time ago. It's like, trying to plan for, the years ahead is, I think, where we've done well. But, it's, well, gosh, what's some of the stuff I did this year? I bought the Tesla in my business, so I'll, accelerate the depreciation there. I invest in real estate, so I get, the depreciation loss. I'm an active real estate investor, so I am able to use depreciation loss to offset active income. That's pretty cool. I have investments that, aren't real estate that I've got some carried forward loss on. So this year I'm expecting to do pretty decent, at least with taxes. Last year I did okay too. Mikey, do you think the dollar will go to zero? I don't. I feel we are in the eye of the storm right now before more rate hikes happen in the future. What do you think? I'm not concerned about the dollar going to zero in the same way that others are. Do I think we're doing things that are stupid that jeopardize that? I do. Like, I don't like the idea of weaponizing the dollar. I think when we're in the position we are of the dollar being the world reserve currency, and then we start doing things to other countries that use our dollar that make us look risky, I think they're going to start looking for alternatives. So I think there's a risk there. I think how we are with our debt and how our politicians talk about that debt, I don't think that makes us look confident. I don't think that brings confidence to our creditors. I don't think that's a good look for us. But I don't believe that the dollar is going to zero if all of a sudden we're no longer the world reserve currency. I think our dollar at this point is more based on our economy. And so I think the things that are at risk to our dollar are not those. I think it's as we no longer promote greatness, as we stop, incentivizing good behavior or, wanting people to excel, stopping innovation, like those are all things that are not going to be good for us. Like like meritocracy, like there's something good about like the competitive nature of the free market that, how would you say this? That incentivizes people to take risk, that incentivizes people to innovate. That's good. The more and more we see an attack on kind of, the free market or capitalism as a whole, those are things that I think have the power to take that dollar truly to zero. But I'm personally less concerned with the other stuff. Not saying it's not concerning. I just don't think that's going to be the thing that drives our dollar down. I was homeless 2 months ago. What do you guys think? I want to hear your opinion on that one. I was homeless 2 months ago and am now working my dream job, but I need to get educated to become a PGA pro in business. Gluten-free bong lord. I'm stoked you have your dream job. And yeah, dude, look, information's everywhere. Let's learn it and let's apply it. Where would you invest 10K? Where I would invest 10K is in myself. I would look for ways that I could either improve on something I know, buy something that helps me make money. I would look at how I could use that 10K to drive my income up. Purchase in the first quarter or wait a bit for second quarter of 2024. Well, I think it all depends on the deal. If you find a good deal, get it as soon as possible. Don't wait. I'm a believer that you should always be trying to purchase. I just think there's times where it's easier, times where it's harder. But I am not a believer of sitting on the sidelines. I don't think it's never worked for me. Mike, you are ready. How would you flip 10K? How would I flip 10K as an 18-year-old? I don't know. I'm not a flipper, actually. I'm the wrong guy to talk to. I don't like flipping. What do you do? How do you make money? I would look at what you do to make money now and what can you do to make more money. I would focus more on income, less on flips. But I don't like flips. I like long-term stuff. This guy won't address anyone's questions on cheese. All right. Is 10% down is a go on 600,000. On a house, it all depends on if you can afford the monthly. You can definitely put 10% down. You can get financing for that. Gluten-free longboard loves the cheese convo. For me, provolone or feta, I'll probably go feta. Thank you for all the great advice. I appreciate you. Bro, good starting place to get your business IQ up. Legend. I appreciate that. Chief Oates, what's going on? Even if interest rates drop, I'm worried there's too many people waiting on the sidelines. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my opinion, right? This is my opinion. When people are sitting on the sidelines and people are scared to invest, that's the best time to invest. That's when I want to be doing it. Like, I think it's scary investing when everyone's in. Like, following the crowd, I do not want to do. It feels good. I don't think you get any opportunity there. So in my perspective, I think there's a buying opportunity. I think when rates come down, at least in commercial real estate, and it is market specific, but in the markets we're looking at, I think dollars are going to just start flooding in again. And I think it's going to get really competitive and hard to find good deals. So I'm trying to get after it while everyone's on the sidelines. But what I do is a little bit different. If you're talking about buying a home, you're more looking at your ability to afford that home. You can make the argument that, bite the bullet and pay the higher mortgage now and then refinance when rates go down. You can make that play. But for the stuff I'm doing, I'm not the one responsible for paying the mortgage every month. Like, how we do it, the tenants pay the mortgage. So we just need to make sure that, we have enough income coming in, our expenses are at the right place. We look at, debt service and all of these factors to know if we have a good, viable asset on our hands. And then it just becomes, does it pencil? If it pencils, then you try to put it together. And then, interest rates moving aren't as, I want interest rates to come down, but if you own something that cash flows and you have no, debt maturing on it, cap rates and interest rates moving aren't as detrimental as when loans come due, or if you're paying your own mortgage in this scenario. I'm a lifelong skateboarder, full-time real estate investor, and storage operator. Dang, we're like brothers. How can I be a general partner on storage, multifamily syndications with you? Brian, that's a good question. So to be a general partner on something like storage or multifamily with us, You'd have to find the deal, develop the deal, manage basically the whole process. And if that project fit what we were looking for and had enough return or fit the return kind of threshold that we target, and then considering, you have the experience that would make us feel comfortable, that's what it would take. We do have partners that we do have developing partners that we work with. And so, it just comes down to, do you have the right deal? Do we think you'd be a good partner for us? And would we be a good partner for you? And then if so, totally. Give us an example of your due diligence process. Oh man, on our end, so our due diligence process, when we find something, I guess it depends on the stage that it's at. Like a lot of times we'll find something that's not entitled. Like what we're really trying to find is a distressed property in an area that, has a lot of demand for it. We scrape it and we build it. We do market studies. Some of the stuff in our due diligence process actually goes beyond the building itself, but they all kind of apply with one another. We want to know what, rents are in the market. We want to know historically what rents have done, if they increased or decreased, and then at what percentage. We don't like coming into markets where rents been decreasing. We're looking at population growth. We're looking at major employers. We're basically trying to figure out if the product or project that we're going to build actually has demand to support it. And then in that, we're doing basically our due diligence because we're building. It's more underwriting the project, right? Like we're looking at all of the things that we currently can plan for. So like, let's just call it total cost. We're looking at, what rents are going to be when we're finished. Let's say 3 years out, we look at what rents are going to be, and then we're stress testing it. Like that's the big thing that we're doing. We're looking at what happens if we don't get the rents that we're planning on getting. What happens if we have a 10% decrease in that, or even 20%? We look at what happens if interest rates move when if we have short-term debt, when we have to refi once it's finished. We look at cap rates moving. We look at occupancy changing. Like we're trying to figure out what happens if the economy gets really bad and the numbers don't quite go according to plan. We don't want to be in a position where our asset is distressed. We still want a cash flowing asset. So that's kind of a lot of the due diligence we're doing on our end. Who is your go-to hard money lenders? Well, like on the construction loan, we don't have a go-to. We have a really close relationship at Berkadia, who typically helps us source our debt. What's your thoughts on self-storage or mobile home parks? I love self-storage. It's one of my favorite asset classes. It's been saturated for a while, truthfully. We are finally starting to see cap rates move, and we're now going after new deals. Let's see, last year 2023, we only closed on 2 storage units. Hopefully we're able to close on more in 2024. Mobile home parks, I have no experience in. I don't know. I've always been drawn towards multifamily. Multifamily was always the one that I really liked. And then storage, I kind of lucked out with because I had a friend who was talking to me about storage. I had no interest in it other than it sounded like a good investment. And then it's been such a good investment for me. I love storage now. But I've always been more attracted to multifamily. I cleaned for an Airbnb host, which he owned around 8 Airbnbs, and it all came down crashing down on him, and now he's about to go bankrupt. Okay, so I am not. I have friends that do Airbnb, and some of them do really well. So this doesn't mean like everyone who does Airbnb is going to lose money. But I am very concerned about Airbnb. Like watching what happened 2021, 2022, it seemed like everybody had too much money and rates were super low. Airbnb was the trend. Everyone was hearing about, the premium that they were making from rental income, and everybody just started buying Airbnbs, really having no clue what they were doing. I've always been waiting for the correction to see how Airbnb is going to perform during it. And my expectation is it's going to be like hospitality. Like when times get tough, you got to ask yourself, like, what do people do? Do people stop traveling? Yep, they totally do. Like boats get hit, RVs get hit, second properties get hit. And so I don't like the idea of having an asset all of a sudden start, going negative cash flow during an economic downturn, because I never wanted to be in a position where I'm scrambling to protect my assets during the most ideal time to buy. So I personally like assets that historically perform well during recessions. That was a big reason why I've always been so bullish on multifamily and storage. How long before you advise being transparent about your investments if they ask for advice? President Jojo, how long before you advise being transparent about your investments if they ask for advice? I don't understand. Will you ask me that question again? I'm not totally getting what you're asking. When do the next set of interns start at Commune? IV, let's start you the first, man. I'm assuming you're a man. I can't even see your profile. Let's do this. You want to start the first? Let's go. My wife and I have a single family rental and just finished a full renovation. Should we use the created equity to purchase our second property? Okay, so this kind of goes into what the last comment was about somebody owning eight Airbnbs and then them all going crashing down. When you do that, when you do things like force appreciation, pull equity out and use that to buy another property, it's a fine strategy to use. You just need to be careful with it because you don't want to over leverage and put yourself in a position where if one of the assets gets distressed, it puts all of your assets at risk. So just make sure that the debt to equity ratio is conservative. Don't over leverage to get the next one. Just put yourself in a pretty solid position. If you feel comfortable with that, well, let me say it this way. If you're able to do that, I think that's a good strategy. If you want to over leverage, just know the risk. If you're comfortable with the risk, then that's a decision that you got to make. It depends on your interests as well. She'll probably like designer. If you are starting over with no money, what do you do in 2024? If I was starting over with no money, like I lost everything, what would I do if I lost everything? Commune out of business, no income coming in? That's a really good question. I'd probably go all in on the influencer stuff, actually. Like, I would probably only do content and start monetizing it. I'd probably create a community. I guess after losing a business, maybe this would be a little bit more difficult, but I get a ton of people that are always asking for mentorship or advice, wanting to look at their businesses more of like on a consulting kind of level. I'd probably do that. I think that's probably where I go with it. And some of these platforms are crazy. Like I don't know if it's signed up is the right word, but I just started getting paid by TikTok, like on views. And they like actually pay you. Like, I had a video, I made like $400 on one video just on views, not like brand deals. But like, okay, like spark off, I don't know what, 4 or 5 grand a month on just TikTok views, do the same from YouTube, do a couple brand deals. Shoot, I think I'd go there with it. Mikey, are you familiar with the ERC? My business partner partner and I feel there's a big market now for tax credits. We tried to, we applied for it. We didn't get it. Look, is there a big market for tax credits? I think so. Like most people, most businesses want them. I just don't have any experience on it. Mikey, thoughts on best investment with a budget of $50K? So RyPix, I'm not going to be able to answer that without knowing more about you, knowing about your goals. For me, how I look at it is first and foremost, what can I invest in that's going to allow me to make more money? That's the first place I always look. If that option isn't there, I'm heavy in real estate. I'm like 75% of my net worth is real estate. So I've consistently tried to put money into that asset class over and over. I like it. But for you, that might not fit. You might want an investment that's, a little bit more liquid, because if you invest in real estate, you can't always just sell and get your money out the way you can in the stock market. So I think it depends. What's your timeline? Like, how long do you want that money invested? Do you want some tax incentive with it? So I would figure out first, like what's short and long-term kind of goals. Thoughts on sub 2 financing. A lot of deals are getting done with seller financing or subject to financing. I think it's sick. Anything creative I like. I have a really hard time putting myself first. I don't want to hurt people to my detriment. Boombox baby. I have a really hard time putting myself first. I don't want to hurt people to my detriment. Will you explain that a little bit more? Because I want to make sure I answer this correctly. Because I'll just kind of try to address it how I'm hearing it, because I do know a lot of people that are kind of uncomfortable asserting themselves into, whether you want to call it like a controlling position or being a little bit more type A or saying I've got this, because they don't want to hurt people's feelings or they're sensitive about how others feel. I would say that's not totally the best way to look at it. I think the best way to look at it is first and foremost, who's the best at doing whatever you're attempting to do. Like if it's managing an asset, if it's, pitching a presentation, like who is the best qualified? And if you're the best qualified, you're actually doing everyone around you a disservice by not being that person, right? Like you should always put if you're working with others, like who can be in what position that benefits all of us. And it's not always feelings that it's not feelings at all. Feelings shouldn't be the deciding factor on who goes into what position. The deciding factor should be who's the best at this. Like, who's got it? Put them in there. And then I think how you communicate that, like you can, work on doing that so that you're not too aggressive in doing it. But I don't like to look at things through feelings as much. I actually try to, what I've seen, and even like talking personally, like through my experience, when my emotions get up, that's when things go wrong. Like I stop thinking logically. I let emotion start thinking for me. That's when I make bad decisions. So I try not to be ruled by emotions. I think that's a smart thing to do. Mikey, there he is. Josh Schmidt, my man. What's up, legend? Love how you've transitioned from pro skateboarder to financial guy. I know it's crazy. Like I was at the Laker game last night. It was a Laker-Knicks game. And I was sitting next to somebody who, was just asking about me. And every time I say it, like if it gets to the point where people ask, like, I always used to be a pro skateboarder, and then this is what I do now, it's always like, what? That jump seems so outrageous. And then usually if I throw, St. Archer into it or even city council, it's even more of a insane story, which is kind of fun to watch people go what the heck? But yeah, it's wild. Like even me experiencing it, this has been a crazy journey, I definitely didn't plan it. What do you say could be a very good step if I don't have money to invest? Learn a skill that you can monetize. That is the best thing you could do. Learn something that you can then go apply and make money. That will then give you the money to be able to invest. Like, focus on that one. And I know people are like, oh yeah, just go make money, right? No, but seriously, like there are so many ways to make money now. It's insane. Like, I don't know if I know we talk about social media, but like there are so many opportunities that have been created that are untapped when it comes to making money online. And you don't have to be like content guy or content girl. You don't have to be like front facing. Like, the UGC space has so much potential with it. So focus on a skill. Focus on learning something that you can monetize. Then, this thing's going to get nuts. How much does your wife influence your thoughts on investments and future prospecting when it comes to shared investments? That is such a good question. So in the beginning, none at all. Like I was already investing before we started dating. Then of course, once we got married, and I would, even when we were married and started having kids, I would make all the investment decisions and she'd kind of be left in the dark. That wasn't the right way to do it. That's kind of, I think took us a while, and especially me a while, to really realize how to do this well. Because at the end of the day, like if only one person is making the decisions that can impact the whole family, both of you should know what's going on. So how does my wife influence investment decisions? So from an investment standpoint, like what are we investing in? I usually tell her, hey, this is what has come across the desk, whether it's, a new apartment building, a new storage unit. If it's a startup, I usually bring it to her. And on the real estate side, she doesn't really question much. She's like, you know what you're doing there. Like, okay, sick. Like, let's get more apartments. On the business side, she has more of she asks more questions on that. What is the business? Who's doing it? What does the market look like? And she's like trying to see if she can understand if that's going to be a product somebody would buy. I love that. And then I would say where she's the most influential is on my actual business. Like, we talk about Commune a lot, what we're doing with it, what the next 5 years look like. I try to include her on as much as I'm possibly doing because one, like I very much so respect her opinion. My wife is very smart. She was the one that went to school. Right? She has her bachelor's degree in business. She has a design degree from FITM. She had her own interior design business for a long time, studied real estate. Like, she is really good. And then the other thing is, like, she's a totally different perspective than me. Like, she's a woman. Like, I want to get her opinion on what I'm doing because it's easy for me to focus everything on just like the boys. And then even like as a parent, like I like hearing her perspective as a mom because the mom audience is massive. Everybody's always trying to tap into the mom audience. So she's been beneficial in that. But I would say a really big one is more like in our space, in the finance space, the entrepreneur space, like live events, investor relations. It's easy to make it about the guys, actually. And so she's been really good on just like trying to figure out ways where it's more geared towards couples. Even when we're doing like investor functions, if we're doing an event, we're inviting investors out, like don't just invite the guys, like make it more of a couples thing, because just how her and I make decisions and talk about it, we should be encouraging everybody to do that as well. So she's been huge. And then she's been doing all the interior design for our office. So she comes in once or twice a week to work on that. And even that's been fun for us. It's been, I think, really good for our relationship also. Whether it's marketing or coding or providing a product or a service, I want to do real estate, but I don't get much money, sadly. Andrew, what are you doing to make money? Let's figure out how we can make you more money first. Do you think there's a difference between having a masculine and aggressive view towards investing, contrary towards a more feminine and cautious view? Is there a difference? Yeah, of course. There's definitely a difference. Is one better than the other? I think it depends on a lot of factors. If you're building a business, in my perspective, if you're building a business, it's pretty brutal. Like, you have to lead, and you have to lead through hard times. And so I think, I'm not saying aggressive, but more of a masculine driver, I think, is good for that. That doesn't mean like a woman can't take that role, but I think you have to have somebody who's pushing forward and not being too soft. So I think that's just kind of what it usually takes to build business. Now, I've seen a lot of phenomenal women entrepreneurs. I've seen a lot of good male entrepreneurs. I've also seen a lot of bad male and a lot of bad female. But the passive, if you're talking about more in context to like what type of CEO you have to be, it depends on where your business is. Like, if everything's going well, you can be more of a peacetime CEO. That is very different than a wartime CEO. Like, having to save a business or go through like downturns, that's not the same CEO. Like, Elon, I think, talked about this in one of his older books. Like, the beginning of Tesla, the beginning of SpaceX, that's a wartime CEO. That's we're going out of business if we don't get this right, and everybody's here 24/7. That's a different type of leader than, probably who's the CEO of, I don't think Elon, is Elon the CEO of SpaceX still? Two different type of leaders. Love that answer, Mikey. Really elaborate answer to my question. That's a really good question. Yeah, it really is. I don't know. Like, I don't, like, there's a lot of conversation around like men and women, like, being the same. I don't understand that one. Like, I don't know why, like, there's something beautiful about women being different and men being different. So like, I don't know. I don't know where that conversation kind of sparked from. That's not me saying like the conversation of like, being equal with them. That's a different thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think on that? Like, I always find it weird that there's a conversation around like, we need to be the same. I don't know. If everybody was the same as me, it'd be freaking awful. It'd be so boring. I don't know. I think I don't know. That's like, I don't know. What do you guys think of that? I'm buying a house in Barcelona. I love Barcelona. That's one of my favorite places. And, like, there's been like all the podcasts, like there's such a, I don't know. I'll wait to see what you guys think. You're going to get yourself in trouble talking like that. Well, let me ask you, like, why, what do you guys think? Like, why is that weird? Like, do you think it can be taken out of context that by saying men and women are different, that somebody's saying that we're not equal? I don't know. What do you guys think of that? It went silent. Maybe people don't want to talk about that. All right. That one is one that we are not going near. Let's pop over to YouTube. All right. Do you invest in hotels? I do not invest in hotels. That's a to operate a hotel is something I am not familiar with. I like hotels. I think people who invest in hotels is pretty sick. Like there's something like anytime you're working on experience and design, I love that. But you're talking about it's a big, there's a management hurdle to running a business that running a hotel that's gnarly, but I do think it's cool. Do you think credit card debt can cause a hard landing? And do you believe we are on our way to a soft landing? Yeah, that's a tough one. If you're looking at the data, it looks like we can do a soft landing is what it looks like. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel that way. That's the part of it that is interesting. The data and the feeling don't match right now. Okay, here we go. Will they ever remove the mandatory second stairwell in apartments? Good question. I don't know. I just paid my truck off. Better to wait before I get another? Is the hard inquiry right after bad? Yes, it's better to wait. Paying off a car, the best thing about paying off a car is not having a car payment. Use that money to go somewhere else. Not towards expenses. I would use that money to invest. So how can I make more money? My day job is working at Dairy Queen, but don't make much there. Andrew, keep your job at Dairy Queen, and I would start looking at something else for you to do. Dude, I would really jump into this gig economy. There is so much money around. I mean, just look at what TikTok's doing, right? TikTok has created a platform where you get paid for your views. You can have a shop tied to it. You don't have to even create the product. It's put you in a position to just sell. That is gnarly. Now, if you're not you don't want to be in front of the camera, you don't want to be more personality, you can create content that doesn't have you in it. There is so much opportunity there. Other than that, dude, I would learn how to sell. That's something that, people don't talk a lot about, but selling product or selling a service, just sales in general, that puts you in a position where you can make a lot of money. Don't sleep on that one. Nothing to say, just a true statement. Will my score be better if I get more loans down before the... Well, they're going to look at your total debt to income ratio, but paying it depends on the loans. Are you talking credit card? Or are you talking actual loans? I've been a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm a real estate investor and have a W-2 job. I feel that I'm respected more now than when I was at home with my kids. Becca, one, I think that's awesome. I think that's so cool. You want to go, work and invest. I think that's great. I would say when I come home, if there's days where, my wife's doing something, maybe my wife's in the office, I'm watching the kids. I don't know if we give enough credit to, whether it's the mom or dad watching kids, that it is hard. It's exhausting. The other thing, I'm in a position where Jen doesn't have to work. She hasn't had to work for a long time. And I think there's something where I feel blessed. So I'll just talk about me personally. Having Jen be around our kids and really kind of, be responsible for building them into, women. I have 3 girls. So, the women that my girls become, my son, that is such a big responsibility that I don't know if we give that enough credit. That's not to say I would have told Jen this, if Jen wanted to keep working, totally good with me. That was a choice that I totally gave to her. Now, do you feel like you're respected more, and do you think that's a good or bad thing? That's a question I'd want to ask you. Do you think you being respected more now is a good thing that we do that? Do you think it doesn't matter, or do you think it shouldn't be that way? I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. My trucks make my money. Thanks for the response. All right, let's go. But you need a product first. would the Amazon selling products work? Totally. Like, look, I know a lot of people that are selling, they have Amazon stores. They're selling product. They're doing affiliate programs. There are so many ways to sell stuff right now. It's psycho. You just became my favorite influencer after following you a few months. Thank you for this live and all your content. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Really, really appreciate that. It's like humbling to hear that. If I don't have enough money to buy a fourplex and split the rent and eventually move out, how do you suggest I gain enough money to buy the fourplex? You know what I would do? See if there's anybody that you're friends with, any family members, local investors. See if there's people that can come in and participate in the down payment with you. Basically, allow them to be owners in the fourplex with you. You live in it. You manage it. Your rent is, being potentially offset by the tenants. And then when you move out, you and whoever the other people are now have a cash flowing asset. Like, see if I would look at ways to create partnerships. I'm a big believer in it. Do you still skateboard on your free time? Andrew, the problem is I don't have a lot of free time. That's the jam up right now. When I leave work, it's straight to home. It's making dinner. It's spending time with the kids. It's spending time with Jen. And then before you know it, I'm exhausted. I go to sleep, wake up, right back at it again. So I just don't have a ton of downtime. And then the other thing I decided to do with this business is not be so obsessed with my current company that I never see my family. And so I no longer work on Saturdays and Sundays. I spend time with the family. And none of my kids skate yet. I'm hoping that either, maybe my older two will get into it. They have no interest right now. I'm hoping that either my son or even my youngest daughter get into it so that when I'm spending time with them, we can go skateboard. But right now, no. All right. I'm going to go. Let's answer a couple more, and then I'm going to start heading out. I first heard of Mikey Taylor from DVS Skate-More. Dang, you've been here. I appreciate it. That was a long time ago. Have you ever done any subject to real estate deals? We haven't. When we do deals, a lot of times we try to keep the owner in the project moving forward. I think getting creative with it is amazing. I'm friends with Pace, so I'm familiar with subject to or seller financing, just getting creative with it. Really, really cool strategy. But in a lot of the stuff we do, we're typically doing larger projects, and having an owner, do a seller finance on like a $30 million, $40 million project. It's harder to find those. Sometimes though we'll buy something distressed that somebody owns, and then they'll participate in what we build. That is usually how we get deals done on the commercial side. They're somewhat creative. Mikey, how do you balance your political career with Mike, how do you balance your political career with the actual truth? Well, you try to always tell the actual truth, I guess, is the correct answer. What I found is the more, like where things go wrong. I mean, there's a lot of ways that things can go wrong on the political side, but where things go wrong is when people feel like things are getting done behind closed doors. Like, that's where things go wrong. So the more like transparency and the more communication you can have, like maybe with, people that live in your district or your area, I think that is what removes a lot of that challenge. And then you just get into maybe having a different opinion than some people. But, I guess the other thing is a lot of politicians aren't, look, some politicians out there just do sketchy things. Like, you have that one. And then a lot of politicians still don't really use social media that way. So, you're considering that most people aren't watching every, what do you want to call it, Congress meeting or, supervisor meeting or city council meeting. Most people don't watch those. So, you just have to be mindful that if you're just making a decision and somebody wasn't tracking the whole process or how you got to that decision, they might have questions. And so I think finding a way to get everybody caught up helps, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. We are in Orange County and first-time buyers. Would you suggest buying now at the height or waiting? Okay, so my belief is that if you can afford it, buy. Like I just don't know. I don't believe in timing the market. Like, you know, for a home, I think the reason why you buy a home is for every other reason other than an investment. I think you buy a home because you want to live in something that's yours. You want the freedom to design it. You don't want to worry about the owner moving back in. You don't want to worry about your living cost going up. There's a lot of good reasons to own a home, but I think where people have gone wrong, and I made this mistake myself, which was I viewed my first home as an investment. That was not good for me. Then I started worrying about things like, I should, you know, if I put this money into the house, when am I going to sell it? What's my return going to be? I just found that that's not the reason why you should buy. So I think considering you can afford it, buy whenever you find the house that you want. And then if interest rates come down, refinance. Congrats on raising a family and still holding it down on the business end. Taylor, I appreciate you. It's something that's new for me. This is as of the last, let's see, 17. So 6 years, going on 7 years. Before that, that's not what I did. I was like, skating got 99% of my time, and then Jen and the kids got 1%. Like, it was so off balance. That almost destroyed my marriage. So I don't want to run that risk again. And honestly, the business has been like, you know, my business now, it's like it's more complex than my last one. We're doing bigger things than my last one. Like, it's going so much better than what my fear was by, you know, not being obsessed with it. Now, it's not saying there's not times where it's off balance. There definitely is. Like, there's moments where you do have to go hard at times. But I would stay in that red zone period. I'd never get out of it. That created a lot of tough spots. We are in Orange County and first-time homebuyers. Would you suggest buying now? Or, oh yeah, okay. The more inventory is going to take time, so be mindful of that. Is Vanguard Real Estate ETF a good investment? The good thing about real estate, like REITs, what people like about them is that you can invest in something that's backed by real estate, and there's a lower barrier to entry. You know, like for companies like mine, and you know, even other companies, the minimum investment is really high, and you can't just get your money out. So people like that. You know, they spark out usually good dividends because a lot of the percentage of cash flow goes out. So that's why people like REITs. Do you like self-storage or mobile home parks? What's your thoughts on both of these asset classes? I like self-storage a lot. I'm not a huge fan of mobile home parks, but that doesn't mean it's a good investment. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. It's just not my wheelhouse. Hi, Mike. What's your opinion on rate cut next year and property will affect with this cut rate report? Okay. So a lot of people are starting to think that the Fed's going to start cutting rates Q1 of next year. I tend to think it's going to happen after that. I think it's going to be closer to the end of Q2, maybe beginning of Q3. But there's an argument that it's going to happen before then. What's that going to do for real estate? In a lot of markets, I think it's going to bring prices up. I think it's going to be more competitive in those markets that are undersupplied. But I think it's going to make it easier. I think people are going to afford it more. Hang on, I got my wife calling. Hey. Hi, guys.
What time will you be done today?
I was going to leave here pretty soon. I'll probably wrap up and leave here in like 10 minutes.
Okay. So,
Who is that, Viv?
yeah. Scarlett and Amelia just went to Avalon's house,
Okay.
and I have like so many returns
Okay.
and like errands. So, which actually really helps the garage. So, do you want to meet us for dinner,
Sure. Where do you want to meet?
and then you could take them home, and I could take them.
T- Oh, you're saying go eat dinner and then I'll take the kids home and you do errands?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Where do you want to eat?
I'm going to get gas and drop them off at the library.
Okay. You want to just text me and then I'll meet you?
Why can't you right now?
Where should we eat? Any ideas? Do you want pizza? Do you want what? Yeah, you want Mexican? You want pizza? Babe, you want pizza? You don't know?
I just ate like one snack. I'm just not starving right now.
Okay, I skipped lunch today, so I'm the opposite. I mean, do you want me to just grab the kids and go take them to eat and then just bring you home something?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay. Just shoot me a text on where I'm going to meet you and we'll go do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably meet me at Kohl's.
At what time?
Whenever you're done, because I'm going to
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll see you in a little bit.
not that Kohl's, Elliot. The Kohl's, like the shopping center.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Bye. Okay. All right. We're back. Thank you for, hanging in there with me. Thoughts on investing in the private sector, commercial paper. You make a lot of money selling paper, getting things entitled and selling it. But I don't know. My view on real estate, I've never wanted to flip real estate because I don't like the idea of putting myself out of a job every time I sell something. For flipping homes, seriously, every time you sell something, you got to find a new one to make money on. I like the idea of buying real estate and holding on to it because I like that it pays me cash flow. I like that it gives me depreciation. I like that it grows my wealth through appreciation. That's what I've always, used as the strategy is hold on to these bad boys. And so I don't like the idea of selling it. I understand that might be your income source. No, whatever. I want to sell, I want to entitle projects and sell them as the way I make money and then use that money to invest in real estate. Okay, that's a strategy, but I don't know. A lot of the stuff we do, we're trying to find stuff, get it under contract, entitle it, then build it, then we get the appreciation. When done right, we get the appreciation. We get, more cash flow than if we were to buy just a current cap rate product, and then we hold it. We get depreciation. We get all the benefits. So I don't know. I don't like selling them. I like holding on to them. All right. Let's see, I won't forget about you on YouTube. Would you ever allow people to call into the show? I would love to call in. I got to do that, actually. That's a good idea. Yes, I will do that. Yo, Mikey, I'm trying to decide whether or not to give up on my YouTube channel. How do you know when to call it a day or grind it out? Local Joe. I grind it out until it happens. Patience is that's the name of the game. So I would not give up on it. If your channel's not doing anything, you gotta start tweaking it. Start trying to change things up and see what's working. When you look at your analytics and see where people are falling off, see how you can get better at it. And I would focus on every new video you do, make sure it's better than the last one. If you do that, you don't give up, you're gonna be really successful at this. That has always been my strategy. Don't stop until I pull it. All right, I'm going to